Mulan is not talked about enough because this movie has great characters, complex family relationships, and not to mention, Mulan is such a badass. Hey guys, I'm Lila and I cover your favorite animated films and TV shows, and today I'm going to talk about the 1998 animated Disney film Mulan. And I strongly believe that this movie is not talked about enough. Now, I know that it was released 24 years ago, but I don't really care because it's such a top-notch movie. Now, Mulan is a part of the Disney Renaissance era, and if you don't know what that is, the Disney Renaissance era is basically when Disney Animation was releasing hit after hit after hit from 1989 to 1999. And before that, they were not doing too well, releasing a bunch of not so great movies. And let me tell you, Mulan deserves her spot among these movies. So, if you haven't watched Mulan in a while, here's a summary of what happens in the movie. Okay, so we open with the scene of the Great Wall of China being attacked by the Han army. And then we cut to Mulan getting ready to meet the matchmaker to find herself a husband. Now, Mulan isn't exactly ecstatic for this, but she really doesn't want to disappoint her family and cares for them a lot. Now, Mulan did not have the best encounter with the matchmaker. And to be fair, it wasn't even her fault. It was the dang cricket. Now, I just have to say, I was watching Dance Moms before I rewatched Mulan, and the matchmaker kind of reminds me of Abby Lee Miller just a little bit. So after that train wreck, Mulan sings one of the most beautiful and probably relatable songs ever, Reflection. But one thing that is not relatable about this song is how easily she wiped off all of that makeup, because I know dang well that isn't coming off with one wipe. Now this is when this lovely personality comes and announced that one man in every family must join the army. Now Mulan's father was a great warrior, but he has several injuries that he was still recovering from, but since he's the only man in their family, he has to go. Mulan rightfully is upset about this and speaks up only to be reprimanded by her father and... this dude again, gagged me. So Mulan that night is like, screw it, and cuts off all of her hair, takes her father's armor, and heads off to join the army. And that cut is so smooth. I've cut my own hair before, and it did not get that even the first try. Mulan's grandma gets woken up by the ancestors and realizes what happened, and her family is in distress. But they can't go after her because if they do, they'll reveal her, and she will be killed. So then we cut to the ancestors having a little debate about Mulan and whether what she's doing is good or not.
Your great-granddaughter had to be a cross-dresser!
So they decide to send the dragon spirit to protect over Mulan, but there's a little bit of a complication when Mushu seemingly breaks the statue. And he's like, you know what, I'll do it myself. Because he believes that if he makes Mulan a war hero, he'll be reinstated in the temple. So then we cut to Shang Yu, the villain of this story, basically delivering a message to two soldiers to go tell the emperor to send his strongest armies against him. And boy, let me tell you, did this scene freak me out as a kid.
How many men does it take to deliver a message? One.
You know what? I actually still think it's creepy. So then we see Mulan meeting Mushu, and that goes about as well as you would expect. And Mushu's advice is just so helpful. So in the first 5 minutes, Mulan manages to piss off everyone in the entire camp because of Mushu. Now this is when we meet my king, Li Shang, and he is assigned by his father, who's the general, to captain the new troops. So then we get to see the most epic training montage ever, and then we see Mulan go from an unskilled to a bad butt-kicking warrior. I absolutely love when she reaches the top of the arrow on that pole. And after this, we get the lake scene when Mulan is trying her very best to hide the fact that she is a girl, which ends up with Mushu taking one for the team and biting one of them to get out of the lake. They seemingly end up being called to join the front where the other soldiers are because of a little plan from our very own Mushu. But once they get there, they find a whole village destroyed. All of the soldiers died from the Huns, and the general, who was Li Shang's father, died. So they ended up being the only troops left. And when they were walking, Mushu accidentally set off a cannon, which gave away their location. So they ended up having this huge epic battle where it looked like there was no way that our army was going to win. But then, of course, our Queen Mulan shoots their very last cannon towards the mountain and causes an avalanche, which covers them all in snow. But Shang Yu's sword does hit her. So she saves the whole army, but is wounded and has to get looked at by the doctor, which means she is then revealed as a woman. And let me tell you, this scene had me feeling awful for Mulan. Mulan. She literally just saved all of these suckers' lives, and they just left her in the dust, or the snow in this case. But not all of the Huns died, and Mulan was the only one who saw that they lived, so she decides that she has to go and warn the captain. Now in the capital, they're having a huge celebration because they believe that the whole Han army died and was defeated, and Li Shang is feeling a little bit guilty, as he should. Mulan did her very best trying to warn a bunch of people, but no one listened to her because she's a female. So yeah. But then everyone was like, oh dang, the Huns are actually alive because they're attacking the emperor and kidnapped him. So Mulan's pals are like, you know what, we're gonna listen to her. So they dress up as women, and the Hun soldiers think that they're concubines. So they manage to sneak in and surprise attack them. Once they reach Shang Yu, he's all pissed off at Shay because he believes that he took away his victory. But then my girl Mulan is like, yeah, no, I did. So she kicks it into gear and runs off. And she runs past a bunch of fireworks and suddenly gets a great idea. So Mushu ends up blowing those suckers up at the perfect time to hit Shang Yu. So Mulan is ultimately honored by the emperor and is given a medal and sword. And she finally gets to return home and show her father all the symbols of honor that she's been given. But he literally throws those suckers to the ground and just hugs Mulan because he does not care about the honor of their family or what she's done for China. He cares about her. And it's a really, really, really sweet scene. Li Shang comes back to get Mulan, and they get together and they all end up living happily ever after. At least till the sequel, Mulan 2. Okay, now I want to dive a little bit deeper into the characters and their struggles and relationships they have with each other. So the main character, Mulan, she struggles with wanting to please her family, but also knowing that she isn't being true to herself. And I feel like with most people in this sort of situation, something's gotta give eventually. And that's exactly what happens when she takes her father's armor and joins the war. I really like that Mulan really cares for her family, but I do believe that her going off and joining the war has more to do about herself ultimately than her father, and I think she saw it as a good opportunity to finally take action, and I'll touch on this more in a second. But what I absolutely love about this movie is that 99% of movies, the main character is automatically good at whatever skill they're trying to accomplish. Either they're a prodigy or they're brilliant, but Mulan is an ordinary girl. She isn't strong at first, she can't fight well, but she puts the work in, and I think that's such an important part of this whole story, that she's not automatically an amazing soldier and she has to work hard to get to that point. I think this is one of the reasons why Make a Man Out of You is one of the most memorable Disney songs. And I also love that she was given the option to go home. Like, she could have left and no one would have ever known that she was a woman and her father wouldn't have to fight in the war. But at that point, it wasn't about her family anymore. It was about herself, which is exactly what I was talking about earlier. And eventually, after everyone finds out that she's a woman, she finally admitted to herself that maybe she didn't just go for her father. She went because she wanted to prove to herself that she was worth something and can do something right, which ultimately means that everything she was doing up to this point was for herself. But saying she's doing it for her father was a good opportunity for her to finally escape from feeling like a screw-up or a fake. Now, her whole relationship with her father is actually really nice and concludes super well. And I think that Mulan believed that her father valued her family honor more than her, but I really don't think that was the case, because after she screwed up the whole matchmaker thing, he was still supporting her and telling her that her time will come. The only time that he did snap at her was when he had to join the army, and in the end it seemed like that was the whole catalyst that broke the dam for her to go off and run away. Now, before I talk about the one character I didn't like, let's talk about the comedic relief of this movie, Mushu. I think everyone can agree that Mushu was definitely one of the best parts of this whole movie. He's absolutely hilarious, and Eddie Murphy's voice is just perfect for him. He just has so many good one-liners in this movie, and it definitely wouldn't be complete without him. And I'm sorry, but I completely bursted out laughing when I heard this line.
And all cause Miss Man decides to take a little drag show on the road.
And the three soldiers are also hilarious and great comedic relief. I absolutely love the chubby one. He's so cute and adorable. I just love him. And I liked how even before Li Shang decided to follow Mulan's lead, they were like, you know what? Whatever you're doing isn't working. We're gonna go follow our girl Mulan, or Ping. Now for the character who just annoyed me whenever he popped on the screen, Shang Yu, the villain of this story. He's just so forgettable and doesn't didn't really have a backstory in the movie. Now, since there's a war going on in the story, he's simply the villain because the story needed a villain. We don't see any of his motivations or backstory. He's simply evil for the sake of the story. And I just hate when stories have villains and they're just evil and they're never elaborated on. And there's a reason why his face isn't in the Disney World villains parking lot. Because if someone saw him, they would be like, who the heck is this dude? And they would forget where they're parked. Honestly, I forgot about him before I rewatched this whole movie again. And hopefully I'll forget about him again because I do not like this man. Okay, moving on, I want to talk about one song in particular, A Girl Worth Fighting For. Now, the song itself is good, it's fine, it's cute, but the ending of the song is what got me. I really like how cheerful and happy the beginning of it is, but I absolutely love how in an instant this scene becomes filled with dread when they find the whole village burnt to the ground. And I think this really emulates how war actually is and how everything can be happy and great and change in an instant. And I also think this song does a great job at displaying that. But one thing that really pulls me out of this movie every time I hear this song is when this guy sings, because he sounds exactly like SpongeBob SquarePants, and that's absolutely all I can hear.
What do we want?
A girl worth fighting for.
Wish that I had.
Like, you cannot tell me that this man does not sound like SpongeBob SquarePants. Now, the other songs, To Make a Man Out of You is obviously one of the most memorable songs, not just in Mulan, but in any Disney movie. And I already went a little bit into detail about what I thought about that whole scene, but the song itself is so catchy. And of course, there's Reflections, which is absolutely beautiful and very heartfelt. Ooh, and the animation in this film. Okay, I always love myself some classic Disney 2D animation. Obviously, the animation isn't quite as high quality as some of the movies we have now, but it's still incredibly beautiful. And I think my favorite scene has to be where the dad is talking to Mulan at the blossom tree. This happens twice and both scenes are so beautiful and they parallel each other great. Now, I just want to quickly rant about how Disney World / Land presents Mulan in the parks. One thing I've never really understood is that in the movie, she gets all dolled up for her family to please them. It is made clear that she does not typically want or like to wear this kind of stuff. So, if that is the case, why is she always shown to be in a dress at the Disney parks? I mean, I know all the other Disney princesses have nice, pretty dresses, but it just seems a little counterintuitive to what the message of the movie is. Overall, Mulan's an incredible movie and is written so well, and I really do believe that one of the highlights of this whole movie is her relationship with her family, and her just trying to prove to herself that she's worth something. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys want to see more of your favorite animated films and TV shows, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Okay, thanks, bye!